Hi everyone. Today video is on Hot Chocolate GraphQL Authentication series. So this is the part 2 video. In this video we are going to do generating the JWT token. And one more thing, we are developing GraphQL in pure code first approach. Okay, because I have already have a couple of videos on JWT. Those are in code first. Okay, code first and pure code first are preferred. So to know more about them, please watch my overview videos on both the topics. Okay. So in this video, our main goal is to create the JWT access token. In part 1, I have completed user registration resolver in GraphQL. Okay. You can check the video 1 link under the description in the description under the video. Okay. Before going any further, this is my blog. I have already furnished everything that we are uh, going to do in this video. So the link will be in the description under the video. If anyone want to go through the video, sorry, blog, you can check the link there. Okay. So now let's jump into our project. So this is my GraphQL project and it is a continuation, right? So we are continue in this whole project only. So for generating JWT token, first initially we need to set few configuration settings. Okay, so we can add them in the uh, our config setting, and we can load from the config while generating the JWT auth token. So let's add those configuration now. I will name like token settings. So here are the three important configurations that we can store and retrieve from the any config section. So what is issuer? Issuer is nothing but the server that is generating the JWT token. Okay, in this server, this is in our so issuer means our project. This project is issuer. So issuer will be added like a claim in JWT token like ISS. Okay. So, but it is this claim is not belongs to user. This is belongs to token that is application level. Means to know that this token is generated by me for the server. We will add this issuer. Okay. So what should be the value of this issuer? The most recommended is domain itself. So what I will do, I will simply, this is my running application. So I will give this domain. Okay. And audience. What is audience? Audience are nothing but the clients that are going to consume our tokens. Okay. So this is also not a user. This is also add like a claim like AUD in the token, but this is not user claim. This is also like a application claim. So this is used to uh, this claim will be helpful to that the token consumption between the server and client taken by the trusted clients only. Okay, so what should be the value of this audience? This audience should value is like a domain of the client. Okay, for suppose if you are using a Angular application, that is client application, something like my.angular.com is your domain. So you can give your domain. Okay, so simply I will what I will do my my.js.com. I will give some random. But what is the use of this means? If our API will be served for authentication by the like n number of clients, we can determine this token is given to this client, so that client only able to send that client. In that way, we can establish some protection layer between the server and the client. Means if there are two clients for my authentication API, if one client trying to send the another client token, then it will become invalid. Okay, so it will like a just a protection, and also it is helpful when you are doing a paid authentication, or when you are selling your API for the authentication like a third party API. Okay, so the only trusted applications can be determined using this audience. Okay, so in real time scenario, these audience need to be either you need to fetch from the database, or you can give the all the collection of clients what you have in the config section, like create another property and their array. You can give collection of domains, or else you can give a database where database structure like a client ID and the domain. So every request that client ID will should be come to us as a header. So based on that header value, we can fetch from the database and we can validate it against the JWT token claim like EAUD. Okay, so that is real time process. So I am not going to show here, but it is easy only. Next key. Here, this key will be used to generate the digital credentials for for generating the token. So you can give any random key, but it should be it should not be changed. Okay, so you can save it in the like config section. So here I am giving some plain thing like some random secure security. Okay, like this I am giving, but you can generate a random string and you can use that. Okay, so this is all about the token settings. Now let's integrate them in the startup so we can inject them in the classes wherever we want throughout our application. So for that, first we need to have a model that represents this setting. So let's create the model. So I will create a new folder like shared. Okay, inside of shared, I will create a class like, let's add a class like token settings. So this is my model for token settings. Now go to startup class and register it token settings. And simply copy the root property name. So that's all about the token settings integration. Now we need to install one NuGet package like Microsoft Identity.jwt token. So let's search like it. So this one we have to install. So its name is system.identitymodel.tokens.jwt. So this library provides us the predefined constructors to generate the JWT object, and from there we can fetch the JWT access token. So let me copy the command from .NET CLI. Visual Studio users copy from the Package Manager tab. Let's install it. So you can check here, package has been successfully installed into our application. Okay. Now we have to implement the core logic to authenticate user by validating his credentials and generating a access token and return to the user so that user can use that token for accessing the secured resources from the website. Okay, so for that what we will do, we will go to our auth logic file. Okay, here let's implement a new public method like login. So once the JWT access token generated, we will return from this method. So I am giving return type of this method as string. Okay. So we have to read user send data, right? For that we need to create a type for that payload. So in input type folders, let's add one more payload class like login input types. Public class login input types. So mostly what we will have email and password. Public string email. Okay. Public string password. Okay. So this is our payload object type. So let's go to our auth logic and we will have input data of that login input type. Okay. First thing is we will validate the payload data. So here we are doing simple basic validation like email and password if exist or not. If not exist, we are simply returning one error message like invalid credentials. Okay. Now what we will do, using our email, user sent a payload email, we will check our database whether user exists or not. Okay. If user are not exist, then it will be a invalid credentials. Okay. Or if suppose user exists, means email found in our database and we are getting user data. Now next step is we need to validate our user sent password against our database password. But our database password is encrypted password, right? So we need to use validation. We need to create one private method like validate hash password. So in that method, we are going to validate our user payload password with our database saved password. For that, I have already created one snippet code. So just copy it. You can find same code in my blog or my Git link as well. So I am pasting here. Okay. So what this method is going to do? This method we will send user send password and the database saved password. So first what we are doing, we know we saved our bytes of data as a string and saved to the database. Now what we are doing means from that string we are getting the byte array of data from our database password. Okay, once we get the database password, byte array of password, what we are doing, we are getting the salt key from our password. We know that our password is a combination of first 16 digits are salt and next 20 digits are uh, hashed password, right? So what we are doing now, from the database password we are fetching the salt key from the first 16 bits. See here, we are copying into the salt byte array. Okay, and next what we are doing, we are encrypting uh, our user send password with the salt and the iterations. The iteration should match with our registration iteration method. So if you go up, password hash method, right? This is for login registration. Same iteration should be do. Okay. So here what we are doing, we are encrypting the password that was sent by the user. Okay. So from that encryption, we are taking the 20 byte array of data. Okay. Then what we are doing, we are checking each byte of data that was generated just now against our database byte array of data. If they are not matching any byte, then we are simply returning false. That means password is not a valid password. If the entire loop, if the byte 20 bytes of password like user sent password and database password are tallied or verified successfully, then we are written true. That means that is a valid password. So now what I will do, validate password hash. Okay. First parameter should be payload password and second parameter should be our database password we need to send. So failed. If failed, again we will return as invalid credentials. Okay. So up to now, our validations are successfully done with the payload and the database. If every validation passed, in the next step, what we will do, we will also fetch the based on user ID his roles from the roles database. For that, what I will do, where the roles equal to, so we are getting the collection of user roles. Okay. Now the thing is, final step, we have to create one private method to simplify our code. In that private method, what we have to do means we have to implement all our logic to generate the JWT token that going to use the instances or the constructors of the library we have just installed, that is system.identityModel.jwt token. Okay, so for that, here what I will do, I will create one private method like, and it will return simply access token and get auth token is my private method. So here I will input user and also list of user roles. Okay, why? Because I'm going to add some claims and roles into the JWT token. So now first thing is we need to use a one symmetric instance we need to generate. So it see this loads from Microsoft identity.tokens model. Okay, and here what we have to do, we haven't imported, just import it, and it will expect byte array of some secret key. So what we will do, we will pass our key we just configured in our config, but it is expecting byte array, so we should send it as byte array. For that, okay, here we can pass, we need to pass our key string. So we need to inject our token settings into our auth logic. For that, let's create a private read-only variable settings. And we know that for injecting any token setting, we have to use I options. And we have to create the type. And just assign the value. Okay, now we have our token settings. Let's go down. And here we will pass token settings dot value, token settings dot key. So here we are generating the instance of symmetric security key. This is one of the ingredient to generate the digital signature, sign-in credentials. Okay, next we have to generate the sign-in credential. Okay, and it is expecting instance of our security key just now created and one hashing algorithm, so that using both of them it will generate a sign-in credential. Okay, so this will be used as the digital signature in the JWT access token. So let me show you one overview image of our JWT token, how it will look. If you know, well and good. If not, just take a look here. What JWT actual contains: header, payload, signature. So JWT is made up of these three blocks. Okay, what JW header contains: hash 356. Okay, some algorithm it will contains. And what is payload? Payload is nothing but our claims and roles that we are going to integrate into the JWT object. Okay, and finally signature. Signature is nothing but the I can say the sign-in credential that we are now generating. See, claims will be later, we will understand. Now we can see the credentials, sign-in credentials, security, and the algorithm we have specified it in header that we are going to give here. And we have to specify algorithm like security algorithm dot. Here I am going to use HMAC 256. Okay. Now it will generate the sign-in credentials. Okay. Now next thing is let's prepare the claims or roles that we are going to want to encrypt them as a payload of our JWT token. So for that, okay. So what I will do, I will give my last name and email as clients to my JWT token payload. It is up to your wish. Here I am using my last name and payload. I will name it like last name, and in user object I have last name. Okay. I will add one more claim with my email. Email. So user dot email address. Okay. So next thing is I am going to add role claims. For that, what I will do, okay, well, let's check whether roles exist or not. So let's shift this code inside of here. Okay, simply add roles claims. So this name will be fixed, okay, for roles, and we just need to pass role name here. Okay, so that's all about generating our roles for to pass over to JWT object. So now we have to create now JWT security object. New JWT security token. So just import that namespace and that JWT security. Okay, in this constructor we have to pass our settings. Issuer, that's we know we configured in our token settings. Issuer. Okay, claims. Add our claims just we created, and expires. I'm going to give expiration time like 20 minutes. Okay, my token only valid for 20 minutes. You can give your own expiration time based on your business. Okay, next sign in credential. Okay, that's our JWT security token object. So now this object contains all our configuration that are required to generate a valid user authentication token. Okay, now finally what we will do using this object, we need to use JWT security token handler dot write token, and we have to pass our security token instance, that is JWT security token. So this write method returns string of access token. So that's it, our private method. So we will go through one more time this block of code what we are doing. First we are generating the symmetric security key instance, and that will take our settings key as an input to it. Next we are generating signing credentials with that security key, as well as using some algorithm for the encryption of the security credentials. Next, finally, what we are doing, we are adding some claims and role claims. So that will be used in the generation of the JWT access token. And finally, we are creating the JWT security token. So it will be furnished with all required configurations that we have already prepared. So once the security token object is created, using the handler and its write token method, we are passing our prepared object of JWT security token. So finally, it can use and generate a access token, and it will return. So now I simply just call that method and return it. So what it expects users and user roles. Let me give true list. Okay, that's our about our public method. Let's look at public method once again. We are validating whether email and password is coming from the client or not. Once it is success, then we are checking with the email. If it is not exist in the email, we are returning invalid credentials. If it exists, we are validating our database password against the user sent password. If they are valid, then we are getting user roles, and finally we are generating the security access token. So that's all about the generating the security access token. Now our final step is we need to create a one resolver method for the login in the mutation type. So let's go to our mutation class. So here we will create one method like public string. I can say login. So what I will do, I will use like this. I will inject the auth class, and also what is my payload object, login input type. Okay. We have to add abstract method into our auth logic regarding this login logic. So what we will do, just copy this method name and make a abstract method to this interface so that we can access through the interface here. Now what I will do, I will simply return authlogic dot login, and I will pass my payload. So that's all our implementation to generate the JWT auth access token in GraphQL in pure code first approach. So let's run our application. Our application is up and running. So here my banana cake pop tool. So let's frame the uh, mutation type to generate the JWT access token. So let's write like mutation. Okay. And let's first copy the name of my resolver method. So let's get rid of this. What is my name of the resolver method? Login. And it should be Pascal casing. So I'm making it a small l. Okay. And what is my input parameter of the method? Login input. So this name will be same here. Okay. And we need to create the variable and its type. GraphQL variable and its type. So let's create a variable. Variable name can be anything. My login. Okay. It should be root. And here it contains all the properties of our login input type. So what are the properties? Email. And one more thing, these properties should follow Pascal casing. Okay. Next, my password. Okay, P should be small. So this is my GraphQL variable. Let's define here. So while defining in mutation type, it should be append with dollar. And what it is type, what this object type, that object type is nothing but our login input type. Okay. But how schema will be generated along with the C# class name, we should append input. Okay. And finally, pass this login type to here. And here let's test without credentials. See, invalid credentials. Okay. Now test with test@test.com and test@12344. So this is my valid password only. If we go to our previous, see we have registered with test@test.com and test@1234. Okay. So first let's give a invalid password and check whether we are getting invalid or not, because we are uh, in our logic what we have written, we are checking our password against our encrypted password in database, right? So it should return invalid. See, now I am getting the invalid credential. Okay. Now let's the correct password. What is the correct password? This is I prepared in our first video, user registration. Okay. So this is my correct password. So what I will do, 1234 correct password. Let's run. See, I got JWT access token. Okay. So that means we are successfully generated the user access token. So with this, we are done two methods like user registration and generating the JWT auth token. Okay, in pure code first approach. Please remember this. This is entirely pure code first approach because we didn't use anything GraphQL type. Everything is taken care by the framework implicitly. Okay, if you watch my previous video on JWT token, there are two videos that is entirely explained on code first approach. Okay, so you can understand the difference between the pure code first and code first. Okay, so in the next video, what we will going to do, we are going to add middleware to validate this auth token. Once that is done, next in that video only what we will do, we will also check the different approaches to implement the authorization techniques. Okay, that will be in the upcoming video. Okay, I think this video has delivered some useful information to you all. If you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. We will meet you again with the new videos soon. Until then, signing off.